we've been doing these candidate interviews for judicial, state assembly, state senate, and other statewide races for about 6 years now. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy campaign schedules. From what I was told, this was actually kind of an off or a kind of a quieter weekend in everyone's schedule. And some people were complaining that they were looking forward to a weekend off, so I'm glad we could ruin that for them. But again, we know how the campaign season is, especially in a judicial race like this with a primary, where we know that there's not going to be a huge turnout. Taking time out of your schedule to meet with us, we genuinely are appreciative of that fact. As you know from the email, we do these interviews kind of panel style, which kind of fire questions at you in unison and have you each answer them in turn. Since we do have 4 people in this race, about 45 minutes, about 10 minutes per person, so we try and meet it out. So if somebody starts talking too much, please don't be offended if I feel the need to cut you off, just so we have everyone else on the panel having an equal opportunity. Just to let you know about us, the Asian American Group's been around for about 20-ish years now.
Exactly 20 years.
Exactly 20? Okay. About 20 years. We do a great deal of political things. That's probably what we're more well known for, but we also do a lot of charitable events as well, donating a lot of turkeys and food to underage children at schools and things of that nature. Obviously this year, because it's a rather big off cycle, admittedly, but still election year, we're a little more focused on the political side of things. So towards that end, when we do these endorsements, we'll be having a makeup day probably sometime next week on a weeknight. We'll probably send out our official endorsements for the judicial races probably in about 2 to 3 weeks is what we anticipate. We'll be doing this again for those of you that are stuck getting through the primary and have to campaign for the next 6 months after that, 5 months after that I should say. We'll be doing another round of interviews in the fall for purposes of the general election. So that's just a little bit of background on us. Now what we would like is a little bit of background on each of you. Obviously I know many of you through professional, well, Richard, I honestly don't know you, okay. Especially I know the other 3 people. But the other members of the panel don't know you all. So we could perhaps have maybe a minute to a minute and a half just background on, yes, Mike? Yes. Mike wanted me to mention the fact that our success rate on our endorsements, we document it all on our website, we're hovering around the high 80s to low 90 percentiles. So, yeah, we're decent at picking a good horse, or horses, so to speak. In all primaries, we will endorse 2 people, just so you know. Just want to make that clear as well. That having been said, if we could have maybe a minute to a minute and a half, just short intro on you guys to introduce yourselves to the panel, and Richard, you to me, we would appreciate it. Since we are chivalrous people, we are going to start with Fung and then work our way down the line.
Thank you.
Please.
Fung Jefferson. I am a lifelong resident of Nevada. Been here since 1982. My mother is Asian American, Vietnam. I was born in Vietnam. Brought here at a very young age. Became a citizen when I was 9 years old. I've been practicing here in Nevada for over 11 or 12 years. Time just gets by me. I have background in criminal law, family law, civil law, basically the areas of law that the Department 2 would be subjected to. Or hearing cases in front of, I've argued before the Nevada Supreme Court on a pro bono case for a family law case. There's my spiel.
Thanks, Fung. Richard?
Hi, yeah, Richard Scotti. I've been practicing law for 26 years here in 26 years, 21 years in Clark County. Thank you very much. I apologize. I've been working primarily in the areas of complex commercial civil litigation. Civil litigation includes contracts, construction, personal injury. I've handled all those types of matters, and I'm also working as a prosecutor for the United States Contractors Board. It's basically white-collar crime. My main strength, however, is complex civil litigation, and I do hope that if I win, that the Chief Judge will tailor the docket to suit my particular strengths, which the Chief Judge does have that discretion to do. I've been recognized by my peers as a superior lawyer in many ways. I'm AV rated, which is the highest rating that an attorney can receive. I've also been designated as a super lawyer by my peers, and I've been twice elected to the Nevada State Bar Board of Governors. And as a member of the Board of Governors, I've been working hard to improve the administration of justice. In fact, I've been working my entire career to improve access to justice and the administration of justice. And you can see from my resume many of those activities. I'm dedicated to public service, and I hope to serve fairly and impartially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
My name is John Glenn Watkins. Started my career as a prosecutor with the District Attorney's Office Criminal Division under Bob Miller. I went in private practice, did all kinds of extensive civil and criminal litigation. I have extensive background in appellate work. I have over 46 reported opinions on Nevada Supreme Court alone. Been the United States Supreme Court, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. You know me, John. You know the work that I do. I've handled over 100,000 plus cases, no ethical violations. During all that time, I was commissioned as an officer in the Nevada National Guard Reserve. Went as a legal officer, worked as a battalion commander, became a state commander, full bird colonel, and left there. I've been married, and I am married. Same lady, 45 years, 4 boys. You know I lost one. 5 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. I also did a lot of pro bono work for people in the military going over Desert Storm. I did wills and probates for those people and their families, and I was recognized on my website from a lieutenant general, just a 3-star guy, Presidio for my pro bono work to those people. Also very important to me, I was the chairman of the Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve. I was appointed by the Defense Department of the United States of America, very prestigious position and very honorable, because I help soldiers who are having trouble with their employers, you know, when they leave and coming back and vacations, etc., etc. My hobby is I fly airplanes, so I guess I have a death wish. And I'm a Cardinal fan.
Won't hold it against you, as far as you know.
I understand.
Bill?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Scupa, and I've been here in Las Vegas area since I was 3 years old. My dad was a casino dealer, so back in those days, this is the only place you could live when we came here. I went to school here, went to Nevada Southern, or UNLV when it was called Nevada Southern, and of course we didn't have a law school, so I went to UCLA. You know, my wife was born here in the old Rose de Lima Hospital out in Henderson, so her family's been here pretty much all their lives. I've practiced law as a trial lawyer for a little over 40 years here in Las Vegas area. I started as a prosecutor in the district attorney's office, then went into private practice. I've run my own business for over 40 years I've had a partner in the past, and then pretty much the sole practitioner. I've done virtually every kind of case you can do, from medical malpractice to family law to you know, personal injuries and criminal law. And personal injuries and criminal is what I've focused on the last several years. So I've also been a district court judge pro tem for the last 12 years. And what that entails is they have a short trial program. I've been an arbitrator and a mediator, and a lot of times people don't like the decisions they get in arbitration, so they will ask for a short trial. And these are for cases that are worth less than $50,000. You can go into them without an arbitration as well. So I've acted, back in 2002 they started the program. I was one of the 25 original judges in that. Now they've expanded the program, and a lot of people fall under the short trial program. So I've done the job as a district court judge on a part-time basis over the last 12 years, presiding over. They're one-day jury trials, and everybody likes them because there's 4 jurors. They know they're not going to be stuck there, but it's basically the same as a regular trial. And I've tried many cases over the years, litigating over the 40 years. You know, I've coached all my kids and other kids in the community, and You know, now I figure it's a kind of a natural progression for me to move into this job full time, but I've been doing, like I say, on a part-time basis. Oh, and I have some other endorsements. I've been endorsed by all three of Metro's police associations, the DPA, the supervisors, and the civilian employees have all endorsed me, as well as the professional firefighters of Nevada and the pipe fitters and plumbers have endorsed me. So I have those endorsements.
Thanks, Bill. First question, and we'll start with Richard on this one.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of experience in very diverse realms of practice sitting before us. And everyone will have an opportunity to answer this question. What do you see as the biggest source of inefficiency in the district court? And assuming you are elected, how do you plan on trying to tackle that problem?
The biggest inefficiency is the delay that it takes for judges to issue their opinions, at least from the civil perspective. I've had many cases where it's oftentimes more than 6 months. I have several cases now in federal court where we're still waiting on, I'm waiting on more than 10 decisions now from summary judgment motions in the federal courts. And until we can have those decisions made, justice is delayed. When decisions are delayed, you have witnesses that can't get on with their lives. You have plaintiffs that are waiting to get compensated for serious injuries. You have businesses that can't plan how they're going to conduct their businesses the next couple of years. Justice delayed wreaks havoc on our economy and people's lives, and that's the most serious problem. We need to increase the efficiency and the timeliness in which cases are resolved. There's a couple ways. Well, judges need to plan their schedules better. Judges need to work harder. Judges need to issue more timely decisions. More importantly, judges need to have the courage to make the right decisions fast. Some judges, they don't have the courage. They don't want to alienate. I've heard judges tell me they don't want to alienate one of the sides, especially when you're in an election period. Several judges have told me this. I'm the chairman of the State Bar Nevada Civility Task Force. Judges have told me that they're even worried about sanctioning attorneys, because then those are the attorneys that end up running against them, or filing against them, or not contributing, or rallying people to give them bad marks on the Review Journal poll. So we need judges to have more courage to do the right thing and to do it faster, and that will increase the speed of justice.
John, same question.
Well, first off, I'm in the trenches, and my opinion that most of these judges do work very hard at what they do. The problem for the overcrowded courts is we have a lot of litigants, whether it be criminal and civil. Okay, in the criminal arena, one of the problems I believe is when you have the prosecutor and the defense attorney negotiating a case. I don't see, except for a very rare circumstance, why a judge wouldn't accept those negotiations. We know that there's some judges that will say they're not accepting those. So that creates a real problem. Also, trials. My experience as a litigator in the appellate level is very important, because I know what needs to be admitted and what doesn't need to be admitted. And if we know that, we're going to cut down on a lot of appeals that are unnecessary. The nature of the case is that judge has got to be punctual, he's got to be prepared, he's got to be courteous, he's got to make a level playing field and fairness, and most of all, I'm a constitutional person. That Constitution needs to be adhered to. So, you know, justice delayed, we hear that, you know, is justice denied. You know, you're in the trenches, we work our tail off, and you need a continuance. We got a bunch of cases we're working on. We're not delaying because we're trying to get some kind of advantage. We're overworked as attorneys as well. So bottom line is that's just the nature of the beast. But if the judges will accept more of these negotiations as opposed to trying to make it more difficult, and hold both sides, you know, the feet to the fire and follow the law. You know, generally prosecution gets more of the calls than the defense. And the prosecution should get the call if they're right, but they shouldn't get the call if they're wrong. And so I think by just giving everything over to one side, that creates a problem, because now they don't want to negotiate, and you know, they feel their case is, you know, 100%, because look, we do this, we're going to get that. So I think it's a level playing field. It's going to cut down on a lot. But you know what? The courts are going to be busy in the story because we have a lot of litigants, whether it be civil or criminal. And people are entitled to their day in court. And most of these judges do work hard. You know, we get a few lame, but you know, they earn their money.
We won't ask you who those are. At least not with that right.
Good job.
Bill.
Well, I have to agree with both Richard and John to some extent, but I will tell you that one thing that always bothers me is I'm over there on Fridays a lot, filing things or taking things over there, and I always tell people you could shoot a cannon through the courthouse on Friday and you wouldn't hit anybody. I'm not quite sure why that is. There are some judges that have full calendars on Friday, but you can go through, if you can get into the courtrooms, if you can get, because a lot of times they're locked. If you can get in there, there's nobody there. I mean, Friday, you know, a lot of the governmental entities are going to 4-day work weeks now, and I think that's detrimental to the public. I think that judges and jurors and the system ought to be working 5 days a week. That's what we're paying taxes for. So to try to make that more efficient and get everybody working every day is important. And I know, you know, there's arguments, well, you need time to study cases and make decisions and everything, but you know, so do the lawyers, and we usually do that over the weekends. I've worked 7 days a week for many years. It's not the ideal thing to do, but you know, sometimes you have to do that. And judges do delay making their decisions sometimes. As a short trial judge, sometimes we take things under advisement because it's not always a jury trial. Sometimes it's just before a judge. They call it a bench trial, as you know. And I get my decisions right out on those kind of cases. So, because you don't want justice delayed. You know, the old saying is justice delayed is justice denied. So that's one of the things. And this short trial program, they try it mostly on Thursdays and Fridays, which is because the courtrooms are empty on those days. You know, we could find other places to try those cases than empty courtrooms. You can use, you know, other facilities to try those cases rather than just because there's no judges working on those days. So that's what I would say. The other thing is, I'm not saying the judges are discourteous. For the most part, the judges are pretty good now. However, of course, this is an open seat that we're all applying for this job for. And, you know, what you want to do is make people feel as comfortable as possible, because court's a very intimidating place, especially if you don't go there every day like we do. And I'm over there every day, and you need to have everybody relax, the jurors, the witnesses, everybody needs to relax, and you need to make fair rulings, because like John says, if you know evidence, if you've been in trial enough, then you can make the right rulings and get them over with, and you don't get as many appeals.
And Bill did touch on something. We did do some background research on you guys ahead of time. There is, for the panel, there is no incumbent. The incumbent in this department is Judge Vega. She's retiring after 32-ish years, both in a district court, municipal court, and as a DA. So she's kind of a lame duck right now, just hanging out for 9 months. So again, there's no seated challenger, or excuse me, seated incumbent for you. Fung, biggest source of inefficiency and how are you going to tackle it?
I agree with what everybody else has said. We've all been in court, and I think that the number of cases that have come into the system, it's only gone up. It hasn't even leveled off. And I think one of the things that you're limited as a judge on what you can do. I think being prepared, and like Bill says, as private practitioners, we work 7 days a week. We work at all times of the night as needed to make sure that we are ready for our cases. I can't say that any judge hasn't done it, but I think that that's something that the judges need to do. They need to actually calendar their cases more efficiently. Where one of the problems I have is you have a case, you go in on a case that can take 5 minutes and you get somebody who's going to be arguing for an hour before you. I think that if the judge has been prepared for the cases that are coming, they know which ones are going to be like that, and also do that open call. Is there anything that can be done within, real quick before we start calling these other cases that they know that it's going to take a long time to argue? The other thing is, as judges, I do know the judges have a lobbyist, is going in and lobbying again to get more judges. That was done 4 years ago where we got more civil judges, but the number of judges that were approved by the legislature was minimal compared to what is really needed at that time. That number has increased again. And so I think that's something that the judges need to do in their positions, get their lobbyists or go in and talk to the legislature, because we're all holding political offices, have the relationships with the legislative figures to try and get more judges, and also educate the community on what that we do need more judges, and with the numbers. Bottom line is numbers talk. People start seeing that you got one judge, one department sees this many cases right now, but there's like 50,000 more getting filed in a month. I mean, that right there tells you that we don't have enough judges to handle the cases. But individually, I think you just got to be prepared when you go into court.
Next question. We'll start with John.
Okay.
And we'll wrap back the other way, just to keep things fresh. But every 2 years, the RJ sends out its judicial performance evaluation summaries. This is a good time to bring it up, since we don't have an incumbent to attack, per se, for his or her good or bad ratings. Obviously, it's an inexact science, but that's really the only window that the general public has when it comes to ranking judges amongst their peers. What ideas do you have to try and communicate to the public, either through that RJ performance evaluation or through some other mechanism, some way for civilians, like the others on this panel, to really get to know the judges in relation to how their performance in relation to one another?
Well, first off, I think the Review Journal surveys are very accurate. We know who the good judges are, and we know who the ones are not good. And surprisingly to me, they're very accurate. So that needs to be maintained. And the only thing I can say is that I feel uncomfortable when trying to toot my own horn. I'm not a toot the own horn guy. Okay, we got to say some things. You got to know a little bit about it. But I like people to see me work and then say things, either this guy, this, that. And so as a judge, if you do your job, the public's going to see that. Again, we're not going to change public opinion. Judges are lawyers. We rank below used car salesmen in the public eye, and it's just really not going to change. What needs to be done is in our circle. We need to support those judges that are good, and we need to get rid of those that aren't. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you get trenched in, you don't get out. You're able to stay in. But I think the number one thing is the survey, and it just surprises me how accurate it really is.
Okay. Hey, Richard, same question.
Yes. I do commend the RJ on their poll. As a member of the Inns of Court with the State Bar of Nevada, the American Inns of Court, which has actually studied the RJ poll, there are several ways that they need to improve on the efficiency of that poll. Unfortunately, it's asking people to submit reviews long after they've been in front of the judge. There's no safeguard to ensure that people evaluating a judge have actually been in front of the judge. Several of the judges have told me that they've had 100 people appear before them, and yet 300 people are evaluating them. So there's several. It's a good poll because right now it's one of the best guides that the public has to get information, but we need to improve it and have several ideas, and the Inns of Court has several ideas on how to make it better. But more importantly, as John said here, that if you do your job, the public will see it. And what that gets to is people need to be active in the community the entire 6 years that they're on the bench, not just during campaign season. You need to work hard. You need to be going to Kiwanis Club, to the Chamber of Commerce, to all the different ethnic groups, their events. You need to go to all the different educational events. There's so many things that I've learned campaigning now. I'm so excited to do this. I have been helping the community in my way in the legal field, being a member of the Ask a Lawyer committee, writing articles for the RJ, and then I was on the professionalism committee, and now I'm on the civility committee, and on the State Bar Board of Governors, helping the diversity committee and the publications committee, serving as a foreclosure mediator for the Supreme Court and a settlement judge for the Supreme Court. There's ways in which you can get your name out there and help the community on pro bono activities, and then it's our responsibility to tell the public, here's what we've done. And so, as John said, the RJ poll, great job, but getting in the public, meeting one-on-one is, and explaining your community involvement is critical, and then of course endorsements such as yours.
Well, the same question. How do we make the RJ, with the RJ's poll, how do we make it either more accurate, or, and now I'm going to kind of, because both gentlemen kind of dovetailed their answers in a similar vein, how do we make the poll more accurate, and then piggybacking off of that, how do we perhaps increase the increase the public's perception of the judiciary as a whole?
The RJ right now is probably like the only avenue that the public can actually see I guess an opinion of the judges. My concern is that, and I can't remember, I know that there's like 5,000 judges, or 5,000 attorneys, but I'm being facetious in that. For the number of attorneys that are actually licensed in Nevada or in the area, and the number who actually participate. It's fairly accurate based upon who actually participates, but it really isn't, because you got so many other attorneys who do not participate in that poll, and they're the ones. And there's various reasons. You're busy. You don't want to, you don't want to sit there and put it out there just in case the information comes back, because it says it's anonymous, but they mailed it to you, so they know it's coming back. So there's a concern about the backlash, and that's one of the things that I know in running my last race is backlash. You're worried about being perceived as the person who said something bad about a judge because you have to go back in front of that judge. That's an issue. So I think the best indicator is the attorneys who appear in front of the judge, but the problem is there's a possible backlash. Whether it's true or not true, it's something you have to worry about, because that's your bread and butter, that's your life. To get out of that, to get into the public, I think that it's getting out and doing stuff in the community, not only when you're running, I mean, before that. I mean, before I started running, before my last campaign, I was out in the community. Since my last campaign, I've been out in the community. I think it's educating the adults as well as the children as to what it is that judges do, what it is that attorneys do, because a lot of people have a misconception of what attorneys do. They think you become an attorney, you're rich, it's easy. It's not. You go to work 60, 80 hours a week for real. As a defense attorney, they assume that you take that client on because you believe them, or that you really support them. No, we are there. We're the guards at the gate, and people don't understand. And I think that even in election cycles, they don't vote in the judges' races. Why? Because they don't understand. They don't vote in the primary because they don't understand what our legal system and our governmental system is based on. They know they have that right, but they don't know how important that right is. And I think that getting out into the community, helping to educate people, not only when you're running, but when you're not running, going into the schools, talking to the people in high school, and letting them understand what the process is. Because I think that's one of the things that we're deficient on, is teaching our young people what it really is like to be out of high school, and what it's like to be an adult, and the responsibilities that you get, as well as the rights that you get, and how important they are, and how people actually have sacrificed in the military, civil rights, to get these rights for some people.
That's not really as cool as I thought it would be when I was in high school. Bill, the RJ poll, and how to increase the public's general opinion of the judiciary.
Well, there's not much we can do with the RJ poll. It is what it is, and I think it's quite accurate, as the other folks have said. It's because it's rated by attorneys that appear in front of the judges, and of course they caution you, don't give an opinion if you don't know this judge, if you haven't appeared in front of him. And that's what I always try to do, only rate the ones that I get in front of enough. Well, you know, there's what, 34 district court judges now. We're running for one of those seats. And then with family law, I don't even know how many are down there. So there are so many judges that it's hard for us to even know all the judges. So, you know, it's the RJ poll plus accessibility. As almost all of my colleagues have said, you have to get out around in the community. Like I say, a lot of mine has been by coaching, you know, kids, but a lot of times I'll go into court in the mornings and I'll see classes of young kids being brought into court. And it's really hard for their parents to come into court during the day and watch what's going on because they're working. But if you can get kids started and see what's going on and make them feel comfortable and be accessible as a judge, and maybe put in the paper, you know, that you're accessible to answer questions. I mean, I think judges talking to different groups in the community when they're not running for political office for, you know, to get reelected is really important, because you can let people know that they can feel comfortable when they come to court and that they're going to get a fair shake. And that's what everybody wants from the court, is to get a fair shake, and you have to be accessible and let people know. You gotta get the word out. So it's not an easy thing to do because you're so busy with everything else. But the paper, so far, is the best thing. You know, the computers. A lot of kids don't read the paper anymore. They read the computer. Of course, you get your newspaper articles off the computer. But, you know, you don't see the things that are around the article that you're focused on. When you pick up a paper, you see the other things and you get a broader accessibility, but that's more than judicial. But what I'm saying is, you know, you just have to be accessible to the general public, you know, be accessible to everybody.
And John, I don't want to shortchange you. You had mentioned a little bit in your response about increasing the public's opinion of the judiciary, but since I piggybacked it off of Richard's answer, anything you want to add regarding that angle?
Well, again, the only way we're going to change the public image is do your job and hope that, you know, people in court see it and spread it out. You know, that's and again, we're not going to change it much because most people don't get involved in the court system, okay? And we're not going to make all these people feel comfortable. I mean, the guy that's just committed 3 murders, I don't think he cares about being comfortable in court or not. What he wants to do is go home, and when he doesn't go home, then he blames his attorney for, you know, not getting him, you know, to go home. So it is what it is, and I think bottom line is what we need. You need good judges that have had a background and have shown the folks that, you know, that they've been good lawyers and that they care about what they do, and do they have the personality to make sure there is a level playing field, because judges should not be political, okay? And we know, for example, these endorsements, God bless Bill for getting endorsements. I don't get police endorsements because I'm up against them all the time, okay? They're not going to endorse me because I fight them all the time. I fight constitutional issues. And so, you know, don't give me your endorsement, fine, okay? That's okay. And this is no way in any way being derogatory of my good friend Bill, okay? But I'm in their face all the time because I believe in the Constitution, and you know that I have always, since I've been a lawyer, carried my Constitution. I believe in this document. And that's the primary goal of a judge, is to make sure this document is adhered to, because we have seen, and we have seen what happened in World War II, what they did with the Japanese. You know, they violated their constitutional rights, put them in concentration camps. This document wasn't followed. It always needs to be followed.
They call them internment camps, in all fairness.
That's correct.
So a little more PC.
So I mixed up Adolf Hitler with... Thanks, John.
I'm here for you. This is going to be our last question, but it's kind of a good way to kind of wrap things up. Fung had mentioned earlier, you know, a lot of people don't vote in these judicial elections, especially in primaries, because they don't know the people, they don't know the judges' function. We don't anticipate, we as a society don't anticipate there being a huge turnout for the actual primary elections. Same thing, there's a lot of voter fatigue by the time it gets to your actual race. We'll start with Bill and go this way. Bill, how do you plan on getting your army to the polls come election day for purposes of the primary and then subsequently for the general.
Well, we're still working that out. And, you know, we all, I'm sure, have campaign consultants and a campaign team, and there are various ways you can do that. There are signs, there's mailing, you know, there's going door to door still. Now, it's tough to go door to door in the county because this is such a big county, and you know, you can't reach everybody. But you've just got to get the word out somehow, and you've got to get people to vote. I mean, there are just different ways and different philosophies on how you do that. I've been told, as you mentioned, that a lot of the people that vote don't go down to the judges because they don't know who they are, and they get tired of voting by the time they get to them. So I'm not sure there's a way to cure that. Each of us wants to do that, wants to get the people that want to vote for us. You know, I've been here for so long, and I've been doing this for so long, that I hope that there are people that know me throughout the county, and I count on getting them to spread the word. That's an important facet. And getting the endorsements, you know, I do about half criminal law, so I'm always engaged with the police in court. You know, as John said, John got a little extra time to say that, but and I think the endorsements are important of the police and the firefighters, and that's the public safety, and that's the perception, even though, you know, we don't want police to be trigger happy or anything like that. And there's been a lot of publicity on that. But we've got to rely on the folks that are working for us to provide public safety and to know who may be the best person to rule fairly on each issue. You know, it doesn't matter what color people are, it doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, they're entitled to have a fair shake in court, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case. And that's the most important thing. And very difficult to get the word out on that, but that's what we're all trying to do.
I have a really quick question.
Sure, please.
What have you done to tap the youth and the new voters? Do you have a
Have I done?
program specifically?
I have no programs to do that. Like I say, I've spent a lot of years coaching, and I get to know the parents of kids. I mean, you know, because I've always been into athletics. So over the years, in fact, my son says, "Well, you're not coaching anymore," you know, so you don't, you're not meeting as many people. And you know, maybe I'll get back into that because that's fun. I really enjoyed that as my kids were growing up. And
A lot of new voters each year.
there's a lot of new voters. And the other thing is to, like I say, if you get the word out through the paper, through the computer, to school, go talk to schools, call people up. We all, you know, my daughter, until she had her 2 children, was a 4th grade teacher. You know, make kids welcome in the courtroom. Get them in to see what's going on. Get them to know how it works at a young age. And you know, and they have programs. They have trial by peers programs for kids that work in, you know, Judge Dahl, I know you know him, but in North Las Vegas, he was big in that. And you have those things where the kids learn to actually try cases. And I think it's important to promote those kind of things. And as a judge, I would try to do that.
John,
Well,
before we do the polls and perhaps dovetailing with the youth demographic as well.
First off, I'd like to add, you know, which I haven't, Bill has mentioned several times about his coaching Little League Baseball. First off, I've been involved with sports all my life. I was a semi-pro baseball player. I have taught all my children how to play ball. Unlike Judge Vega, bless her soul, because you're entitled to go see your daughter play soccer. Sometimes I was unable to when I worked at the district attorney's office, but I made most of my kids' games. I did a lot of coaching. Took the theory of baseball at UNLV. It was the best class I ever did because it allowed me to teach kids. So I just want you to know that also, you know, I have been around the youth, etc. And when you have 4 boys, you certainly are around youth. And even when they grow up, they're still youth, okay? What am I going to do is, number one, my biggest thing is my peers. The attorneys that have seen me operate in court, I have tried very hard to be a good lawyer. I have tried to help other lawyers. I don't think there's another lawyer around that has been more helpful to established lawyers or new lawyers than I. I have a motion, anything I have, I give it to them, I talk to them, I give seminars in the hallways, etc., etc. So I've given my time. I have given seminars at the police department. I have given seminars at the National Judicial College. I have written a number of articles. Used to write for the NACJ all the time, and every time I'd write an article, they'd go to the legislature and change the law, so I stopped writing those, okay, because the enemy was using them against us and changing the law. So the base that I have is my peers. I also want you to know that the Martindale-Hubbell surveys that are done, I have the highest ranking. I have 5. I don't think any of my opponents have a 5 in all categories. And by the way, I don't pay Martindale-Hubbell anything. So this is, because some people pay and etc. This is all just anonymous. And so my peers think that I'm okay. And so from that base, then I've had some high priority cases. The Jessica Williams case is a very, very high priority case. God was very kind in one sense. I worked very hard on that case, very difficult case, and I've had a lot of folks say that I did a really nice job from the legal standpoint on that, so I have a base to work with there. We are doing all the things that you do in the campaign. You know, we're coming to these particular meetings, you know, we're doing the signage, et cetera, et cetera. And it's about name recognition. Hopefully with my peers, they know me and they can see what I have done, and I have no problem with that. But unfortunately, it's not your peers that will put you in office. It's people that really don't know a whole lot about you. So I have gotten the website, the Twitter, which I don't know anything about, Facebook, which you know, is not my cup of tea. But I have, you know, all that stuff, and so if God wants it to happen, God helps those that help themselves. But I have 34 years of hard work in this business, and me as a person, I believe that people would think I could do a real nice job sitting as a judge. I care about people. I get along with the porter at the courthouse all the way up to Supreme Court justices. And between you and I, sometimes I like some of those people better than the top echelon folks. But I'm a people person, and I'm just who I am. And if you did any real research, you would see that in 1999, I was the Class B horseshoe champion in the state of Nevada.
Nice.
I will admit that fact is not listed on
You didn't Google me then.
I did not go that deep into your history. Probably I'm projecting, wouldn't want anyone to go that deeply into mine. Richard.
Yes, well,
pulse.
let me tell you, I play horseshoes, but I'm not an expert by any means. But let me tell you, I am a constitutional expert, and the case he's talking about was, of course, Korematsu 1944. I teach Constitution. I've been to many 5th grade classes to teach the Constitution. I hold it very dear as well. In terms of your question about kids, I've been to the soccer fields. I'm going to the soccer fields, setting up booth, my sign, handing out free waters, going around talking to the folks and handing out signs. I'm going right at 1:30 today to go to a soccer field with Team Scotti. So I am working very hard to reach out. I have a lot of signs. We all have signs. Signs are good because it starts to get us name recognition, which is important, but it doesn't seal the deal. We need to do more than signs. We need to go out to the different groups and talk to the folks and explain to them why they should vote for us. And I'm telling folks one of the reasons they should vote for me, even though I'm here with some fine folks, is I've worked hard my entire life to improve the administration of justice and access of justice. And along the way, I've developed quite a lot of experience handling complex matters. For instance, you may have learned about me through research that I was the lead local attorney in the longest civil jury trial in the history of Nevada. That was the Bovis Venetian case, and that was a 9-month jury trial. I had one of the most extensive roles in that case, and it's that type of activity that has made me quite suited to handle very complex civil matters that are going to appear on the court. So I'm trying to convey that to the folks. My peers know my academic abilities and education and experience. I have 100 very qualified, very well-known partners and distinguished attorneys on my steering committee, and they're helping me. And every attorney has a sphere of influence of at least another 50 people. So I've been doing that as a member of the Board of Governors for the State Bar in Nevada that I've been on for 4 years now. I've been sending out a newsletter about about every 6 months. And that's the way that I've been helping to inform the people about how we're improving the system of justice and what we need to do. And I'm going to continue communications like that throughout my campaign, helping to send out mailers to the people to try to let people know about my background and qualifications. Then there's family, then there's friends, then there's clients, there's colleagues. People have been talking about endorsements here. I have been endorsed by a veterans organization. There's about 200,000 veterans in town that I'm going to reach out to, and I'm going to try to convince them that I'm very knowledgeable about their issues. I helped advocate the establishment of the Veterans Court here in Nevada through a resolution at the State Bar. I'm advocating very hard for the appellate court as well, which I think is becoming more and more popular. I think that's going to give us more precedent to help, getting back to one of your earlier questions, improving the efficiency of justice. So those are the messages. We've got to get out the messages, and with that, I hope to be successful in attracting a good number of voters, and then we'll let the voters decide.
You're Richard.
Thank you.
Ditto? No.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, for the most part, it's pretty much, I think we all have the same game plan. I mean, there is a plan. I mean, and I think it's more or less getting people to know who you are, because when people relate to you, they're more likely to vote for you and actually have that commitment to come out and support you. And that goes back to all of our relationships that my other candidates have said, is that, you know, you go back to your core, you know, your reputation in the community. Getting people to understand, that you come from a military veterans family. You've been in the military. You've lived that military lifestyle, so you understand the dynamics of living that as a child, having a parent that way, coming out of a military engagement. Also, letting people know that you are like them. That's the biggest thing. But to do that, you have to be in the community, talking to them. And again, I think that goes back to continue doing it, not only when you're campaigning, but afterwards, because people feel comfortable when they know you. And my thing is, a lot of people's in the judicial races, they don't know you, and that's, they don't know you, so they don't want to make that commitment, because then it's like, I voted for you, like, well, and everybody knows the Halverson case, okay? She got elected. A lot of us in the legal community didn't know who she was when she got elected, okay? And then it went astray. How did she get elected? Name recognition, because she was out there at every event, and she connected to those people, okay? They didn't ask her what her, her background was or anything like that. So I think that it's really important for any candidate who's running for a judicial seat to really get people out there to know who they are, so that the best candidate can win, and not, we don't have another situation like that.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you very much. We went